We are beginning to see some changes out in Florida. Taking a look at Daytona Beach. Yeah, the winds are starting to pick up a little bit. The waves are certainly picking up, and something that it's good to see is that I don't see a whole lot of people out on the beaches anymore. We hope that trend will continue. Well, Nicole continues to strengthen, and joining us right now is Jamie Rhome, the Acting Director of the National Hurricane Center. Jamie, thanks for spending some time with us. Today, we've been watching the storm. It's getting more organized. We're starting to see more of that organization just almost with every single hour.
Oh yeah, you can really see it in the last few images here, invisible. The sun is starting to set, so the last images are dark there, but you can really see this wrapping around the center. It's starting to take on the traditional tropical cyclone, so I want people to sort of ignore the fact that it was a subtropical yesterday. That is a distraction. Treat this as if it were a tropical storm in August.
Yeah, and absolutely, because whether the makeup of the storm doesn't matter. We got winds. This is very large, and now the storm surge is definitely going to become an issue with that. And maybe you could talk a little bit about that and the fact also that the wind field is kind of a large one.
Yeah, so this is going to be the part that's going to trip people up. So a lot of people make the mistake of saying it's just a tropical storm or it's just a Category 1. It's not a big deal, but there's some uniqueness about this particular storm, namely its size, that are going to catch people off guard. You can really see it in the satellite image. I mean, just look how big this thing is. It's almost the size of Florida. That is going to really churn up the seas, create a rather significant storm surge. The areas here along the Florida East Coast, the dunes have been already severely weakened by Ian when it trekked across, and that's the first line of defense. So this storm surge is going to be able to penetrate into these coastal communities a bit more effectively than it might otherwise.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Now, talk about the timing of all this, because also since it's such a large storm as far as the wind field, it seems like some of that storm surge, or certainly the waves, are going to be coming in a little bit sooner than what people might expect.
Yeah, that's a great point. And that's why the storm surge warning went up last night. You remember we issued the storm surge warning last night ahead of some of the traditional wind-based warnings. That's why we're trying to communicate that the water is going to come up faster or in front of the system, Nicole, before it makes landfall. In terms of timing, we're looking at sometime probably overnight Wednesday and more likely early Thursday morning, but for all practical purposes that won't matter because of the large size. The wind is going to start to degrade the weather conditions through the day tomorrow for coastal Florida. So if people are thinking that they're going to have all day tomorrow to prepare, that's probably not going to be the case. I'm going to think that the conditions are going to really start to go downhill as we approach tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, especially now as we're looking at those outer bands are starting to come close to shore. So I think you're absolutely right about that. Now, what would you say to people on the East Coast? So we know that Florida's going to have this. It's going to be a direct hit there. But there's going to be impacts that are going to actually influence a lot more people that might not even think that they have anything to do with Nicole.
Yeah, I mean, this is great. I don't want to focus too much or entirely on Florida, because what's going to happen is once Nicole sort of moves in over the Florida Peninsula, it's going to turn back to the north. And again, don't focus too much on the cone. I want you to focus on the hazards, because this big wind field here is going to elevate and produce a pretty significant storm surge here along the low country of Georgia, South Carolina. There's a reason they call it low country. It means it's very flood prone. So you get rain falling on top of this storm surge. It is a recipe for a flood event along the immediate coastline of Georgia and South Carolina.
The words are good advice. Be alert for a lot of us, and we will continue to do that. So Jamie Rhome, again, thank you for taking the time with us. We appreciate you and everyone at the National Hurricane Center and all that you're doing for us. And I'm sure we're going to be talking to you a lot more over the next couple of days. But again, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you for having us.